This video has been sponsored by Brilliant. Stick around to the end to learn how you can begin your learning journey with them.
If I was stuck on a deserted island and I could bring one person with me, the person I would undoubtedly choose would be a middle-level HR or administrative representative. Not because I think they'd be competent at lighting fires or helping me make a raft to escape, but because on a deserted island, nobody is going to complain if I throw them off the nearest cliff.
There is a saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely, and while that might be true, I think it's more true that giving people the absolute minimum amount of power seems to corrupt people even quicker. The most insufferable people I've ever met in my life have all been middling administrators whose sole purpose in life seems to be the addition of bureaucratic bloat to give themselves something to do. I mentioned in a previous video how the simple act of using a professor's university bank account to purchase something was a process that was drawn out across multiple months because someone who graduated from a university nobody ever heard of with a 6-year communications degree and 10,000 LinkedIn posts wanted to insert themselves into the process.
So, come get ready with me for a day in the life of the administrative assistant to the secretary of the vice dean of the provost of the Office of Human Affairs, where I send 5 emails at 1 p.m. and spend the rest of the day gooning for my 400 LinkedIn followers.
My most memorable encounter with an administrator was when I was studying for the physics GRE. For those of you who don't know, the physics GRE is like an SAT subject test for graduate school, which schools don't really require anymore, but most people still think can be useful in your application. In high school, I had used a tutoring service, let's call it D3. They were useful when I was studying for my first AP test in 8th and 9th grade, but I didn't have much opportunity to use them afterwards. When I was back home for the summer for college and trying to prepare for the physics GRE, I thought that I'd try the D3 and at least ask them if they had anyone that could help me. I didn't recognize the manager who picked up my initial phone call. Apparently in the years since I stopped using the place, the entire management had been switched out. I asked them if there was anyone who could help me with my physics GRE tutoring, to which she responded yes, and told me that Mr. H was available. I had worked with Mr. H when I first took my AP physics exam, so I was happy to hear that I'd see a familiar face in the near future. Unfortunately, she said that because I hadn't gone to the D3 in so long, there were certain administrative things that they would need to do in order to make a tutoring appointment, namely that I would have to do an interview with my family. While this might sound like she's trying to analyze if I'm a good fit for the tutors I'm going to be working with, in reality, this is just an opportunity for D3 to market their differently priced tutoring packages to you, like one of those timeshare meetings you have to sit through in order to get a cheap hotel room. I told her that I wasn't interested in doing the interview, to which she responded, "Well, then I can't help you. There's no other way to enter you into the system," and hung up. The next day, after realizing I didn't really have any other options with regards to physics GRE tutoring, I called the D3 back. To my surprise, the manager dropped the interview request entirely and said that she would schedule me in with Mr. H in 3 days. I asked if upfront payment was necessary, to which she responded in the negative. 3 days later, I had never received the Zoom link and called them back asking what happened.
"Oh, that's because you never gave us your payment information."
Huh?
I couldn't tell if she had dementia, was trying to gaslight me, or if I had just inhaled too many fumes from my time in the nuke truck, but this was starting to get weird. After she explicitly asked me for my credit card number, I thought it was prudent to ask how much I'd be charged before I gave some stranger that information.
"That'll be $220 for 2 hours because you're not in the system."
What? For $220 for 2 hours? The tutor better be taking the damn GRE for me. This was a patently absurd rate, but I felt that I didn't have any other options and acquiesced. When the time for my tutoring session eventually rolled around, I greeted Mr. H and noticed immediately that something was wrong. While he was happy to see me again after so many years, he also looked very concerned. "Why are you here, Jeff?" "What do you mean? The manager said that you'd be able to tutor me on my physics GRE exam." "GREs? Jeff, your knowledge of physics exceeded mine by the time you were a senior in high school. I don't remember if I told you this, but my actual degree is in CS." And after a little bit more back and forth, he said this: "I would have never agreed to this meeting if I knew that you were coming in today. I would have told them that I couldn't help you." This conversation betrayed 2 things. Not only had the manager lied to me when I asked them if there was someone capable of helping me with physics GRE tutoring, they had failed to even tell the tutor I was working with what I wanted. All of this while they had taken $220 of my money as an upfront payment for a service they could never hope to provide. Mr. H, being the good guy that he was, promised to call the manager and tell her to give me a refund, declaring that the manager would call me back by the end of the day at the very latest. As one could probably guess, I never did get that call back. Instead, I called the D3 a day later and, after being told the manager was busy, received the following response from the secretary.
"Oh, we can't do the refund because it's in the system already. How about some credit hours?"
What do you think you're going to tutor me for?
How about proofreading your college essays? That deadline is coming up.
Do you realize I'm applying to graduate school?
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant proofreading your graduate school applications.
How can you proofread a graduate school application, which contains information that's specific to a certain research area in physics, if you can't tutor me for the physics GRE?
Oh, Mr. H might not be able to help you out there, but we could find someone else in our office who might. I'm sure of it.
Do you have any physics PhDs?
No, but we have people that are familiar with the process.
Look, I just want my refund. I don't care about your tutoring credits. I'd appreciate you either giving me that refund or getting me in contact with your supervisors.
How about you give us some questions and we could go ask our tutors if they can help us while we work on your refund for you?
You know what? Fine. Tell them I want them to explain to me Born von Karman boundary conditions and walk me through the derivation of Bloch's theorem. Again, there was no callback from the center. I called them back, this time with an ultimatum that I needed to talk to the manager because clearly she was making all of the decisions and using her employees to talk with me. I was met with a promise that a meeting would be scheduled within, quote, the next 2 weeks for sure. By this time, I was only a week out from my test and didn't have the time to think about arguing with a group of corporate lackeys who only had the authority to irritate me, so I dropped the matter. Immediately after I finished my GRE, still hopped up off the Advils and Red Bulls I had used to get through the back pain during the exam, I called the D3 and asked if somebody had figured out my meeting. It turns out the meeting had been outright denied, but the secretary cheerfully told me that the manager could offer me back $110 because, quote,
I had already used one of the 2 tutoring hours.
This was absurd given that I had only used 15 minutes of the 2-hour block, and even those 15 minutes were just to discuss with Mr. H about how badly I'd been scammed. The secretary and I went back and forth for a while, but given that he didn't have the ability to actually make any decision, I again requested to talk with the manager. This request was granted, and what followed was one of the most infuriating conversations I've ever had the displeasure of being a part of.
Hi, Jeff. Look, I told you the best I could offer you was $110 back.
And at this point, I try and go over my points about why this isn't fair.
Jeff, you understand Mr. H has to be paid, right? Are you really going to throw away your relationship with him over this?
How dare you bring my professional relationship with Mr. H into this conversation? How is that in any way relevant to what we're talking about? I know Mr. H gets paid hourly, so he's already been paid, right?
Well, yes, but the books need to be balanced.
And whose fault is it that the books aren't balanced?
It's yours. You only asked if Mr. H was available.
That's not at all what I said in any of my previous calls about this issue.
Well, that's not what I heard from the secretary. You'll have to take it up with him.
And she hung up. Sick of playing telephone through the secretary, I vowed to resolve this matter in person. After arriving at the D3, I was informed by a lady at the front desk that the secretary was in training, but that he would be free afterwards. I sat in the waiting room for 2 hours waiting for the secretary's training to finish, during which time I had to use the bathroom. After asking this lady at the front desk where the bathroom was, I received the response that,
we usually only save that for students.
So I paid $220 for a tutoring session, and I'm not one of your students?
It's down the hall and to the right.
The secretary eventually came out of his room at the end of his training, and after locking eyes with me, tried to slink back into his room without so much as a greeting. I jammed my foot in the door and told him, I think the 2 of us should talk. He said that he had another appointment right now, but after loudly asking the front desk lady if this was true, and her responding in the negative, I looked him dead in the eyes and said, I think it's in both of our interests to resolve this matter. For the next hour, I grilled this man over the coals over what exactly had happened. On 2 occasions, I asked him to recite his memory of the events, but the 2 stories did not align at critical details. At first, he said that I had asked for Mr. H directly, without informing the D3 about what I had wanted to study. And in the next retelling, he said that Mr. H had lied about his qualifications. Neither of these things were true, so I kept pressing him on his inconsistencies until he eventually cracked, revealing to me through teary eyes that his boss had instructed him to stonewall me. With a little bit more pressure, I got a written admission of both his guilt and his recollection of his boss's instructions. Now, to be very clear, I am not proud of bringing a middle-aged man to tears. But his stubborn unwillingness to take responsibility for his actions left me no choice but to push him until he confessed. I apologized afterwards, telling him that while it wasn't my intent to upset him, I was still sorry for causing him such grief. I noticed then that he had a picture of his kids on his desk, one of whom was holding a pennant from my college. After telling the secretary that I went to that school, he told me that it was his son's dream school. We chatted for a while about what my application package would look like and some tips for applying. This seemed to cheer him up, and he offered to schedule a meeting between myself and the manager the next day. As I walked out of the office, he said one last thing.
I hope you resolve this thing soon, Jeff. I know that $220 was a lot of money to me as a college student.
Can you guess what happened next? No call back from the manager at the scheduled time or at the backup time. I called the front desk to ask what happened, to which the person answering the phone seemed surprised.
She didn't call you back? That's strange. I told her that she needed to call you as soon as she could, and she said that she would. I'll go tell her now.
That's okay. Just put me in for the next available slot for an in-person meeting.
Alright, Sorry, the center manager says that she'd prefer to meet over the phone.
Why? It's not like she has to drive anywhere.
She just prefers it over the phone.
Can you put her on the phone?
I'm not here. Sorry, she just went back to her office.
Sure, whatever. Put me down. After this appointed time came and went, I truly lost it. Seeing that going through formal routes was getting me nowhere, I drove over to the D3 and, after asking the front desk lady when the manager's meeting would end, spent 3 hours fuming while I waited for the manager's next opening. When the time for my meeting eventually came, I was flabbergasted to see the manager invite a family into her office, starting her next meeting early in a clear effort to avoid talking to me. Enraged, I walked into the middle of her interview with her prospective student and, after apologizing to the family for interrupting, I said that this manager had not only taken $220 of my money for a service that she had failed to provide, but that she had then subsequently squirreled her way out of my every attempt to talk with her afterwards. While the father was sympathetic, he asked me to meet with the manager after their meeting. I then told the front desk lady what had happened and that, given the circumstances, she needed to stall the next family from coming in.
Oh, I don't think I can do that.
Do you realize your boss is acting like a child? Do you think she is behaving responsibly? Is this how your company would want you treating your paying customers?
No, I don't think it was appropriate either.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do what's right and talk to that family long enough for me to settle my issues with your boss.
Okay, I'll see what I can do for you.
After the family left, I went in.
Manager, I think you owe me a word. The way you've treated me is beyond unprofessional at this point.
What's the meaning of all this? You should know that you breaking into our meeting was unprofessional.
That meeting wouldn't have happened at all had you the integrity to answer my questions. Why is it that other students get to schedule meetings with you, but me, as a paying customer, can't seem to get a hold of you? Do you think it's okay to purposefully start your next meeting early so you can avoid talking to me?
Well, they arrived early.
And I didn't? Clearly, you just don't want to talk to me in person. I don't know why it's so difficult for you to admit that.
Jeff, I don't know what you're so upset about. This is company policy that we can only offer you $110.
Is it also company policy to lie to your customers? Your secretary gave me a written confession that you lied about this return policy and that you further lied about what he said about explicitly promising me that Mr. H could do physics GRE tutoring.
Jeff, you're not understanding the situation. Maybe you should...
Can you stop patronizing me?
Jeff, that's not very professional.
What credulity do you have to talk about being professional, being the lying thief that you are? You've stonewalled me for a month at this point.
No, I haven't. See, now you're lying.
The manager then proceeded to spend the next 5 minutes looking for when my original appointment was in order to prove me wrong, but in reality this was just an opportunity for her to gather her thoughts.
See, look, it was only 4 weeks ago.
Does that make a difference?
It sure does. You lied.
Is it any more acceptable to stonewall your customers for 4 weeks than it is to do it for a month? Are you so immature that you can't see that you did something wrong here?
Look, the best I can do is raise this to the district manager.
Oh, I'm sure you will, and then I'll have to wait another month to hear back from them.
No, I'll go see them tomorrow on my day off. You should thank me.
Oh, sure, just like how I've been handling this on my month of days off before school.
That's not fair.
No, I think it is. What's really irked me this entire month is the fact that you have never once taken responsibility for your mistakes, and instead, you've been using your employees as both scapegoats and mouthpieces. Do you think you can just sweep me under the rug?
Jeff, you seem like a very angry person.
I can't understand what makes you draw that conclusion, given that you've been the one raising your voice at me this entire time.
Are we just throwing personal insults now? I mean, if we want to do that, then I think that you must have been emotionally stunted as a child given how pathetic your attempts to run away from your problems so far were.
So I left, and sure enough, she didn't call me. I called the secretary the day after to request my $110 back, to which he happily obliged and sent over a form. I filled it out without thinking much because I just wanted it done at this point. A couple of days later, at the end of my first week of school, I got a notification in my email that I had been refunded $220. I was walking down the hallway between classes, but when I saw that, I started laughing my ass off. I immediately called the secretary and asked what had changed. Apparently, the manager's corporate superior realized that there were legal issues with refusing to refund everything when the service was in fact not provided, and so they had decided to quietly return everything without so much as a notification. The reason why the center manager had fought me so aggressively about the money, as revealed by the secretary, was because she received some sort of commission-based pay, so she thought that I was taking this easy money directly out of her retirement. I told the secretary to tell the manager that I said hi, and after asking how his kid's college entrance exams went, hung up the phone call with the stupidest smile on my face.
Now, are you trying to learn something new but don't want to get scammed by shady tutors? Well then, you'll want to check out the sponsor of today's video, Brilliant. Brilliant is the best way to learn a new topic or to brush up on old ones. Their learning library contains thousands of visual, interactive lessons in math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI, and is curated by an award-winning team of educators from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, and more. Whether you're on the go or sitting at home, Brilliant will teach you everything from how to take a derivative to how to build your own large language AI model. I'm personally a huge fan of Brilliant and have been using their digital circuits class as part of my own PhD research. Before using Brilliant, I had to cross-reference textbooks, research papers, and more just to build a circuit that would catch on fire when I plugged it into the wall. In fact, I was so bad at building circuits that I learned to tell the difference between a burning resistor and a burning amplifier just by the smell alone. After going through Brilliant Circuits course, however, and quizzing myself with their interactive examples, I managed to build a circuit that not only didn't explode when I powered it on, but that did exactly what I wanted. To get started for free on Brilliant, go to brilliant.org/storytime, scan the QR code on screen, or click on the link in the description and pinned comment. In addition, Brilliant's offering Storytime with Jeff viewers 20% off their annual premium subscription, which gives you an unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. So go ahead and check them out.
Start digging in your butt, twin.